Hey, Interpersonal, Mrs. Roth here, and I'm going to walk you through the communication process model drawing, what you're doing for today. All right, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open up the handout, and the handout's going to look like this. And on the handout, it tells you which pieces of the communication process chart that we've been working on Monday and Tuesday, which pieces of that chart you have to have in your drawing. Okay, so this is going to be the list of things that you have to include. And when you're thinking about making your drawing, what you want to think about is how you can represent the communication process model in a way that is not just circles and arrows and boxes. You're going to want to think a little bit more 3D. So in a very English teachery thing to do, I'm going to make you come up with a metaphor for the communication model. And that just means what is a way that you can represent it. So before you get too confused, let me walk you through an easy example, right? You're going to get this. So the most basic part of the communication process model is those core four pieces right in the middle, right? You've got the sender, you've got the receiver, you've got the message, and then you've got the feedback. Okay, so let's say we're going to pick football for our example. And if you pick the football to be the message, then who is going to be the sender? Maybe the quarterback. And who is going to be the receiver? Maybe the wide receiver, right? And then you're going to draw them out. Now, stick people is totally okay. You can draw stick people if you want to when you're doing this chart, okay? So you're not going to use a circle. You're going to actually draw a person. And you're not going to use an arrow or a box. You're actually going to draw a football. Now, if football is not your thing, that's totally fine. You can pick something different, right? Maybe you want to pick a different hobby that is interesting to you. So maybe you want to pick fishing, for example, right? So maybe you have the sender is the fisherman in the boat, and maybe the message is the bait, and then the receiver would be the fish, okay? And then once you've got your core four, then you can work out and you can say, what are some of those other things? Like what could be external interference in a fishing situation, or what could be external interference in a football situation, okay? Another thing that you can think about is maybe picking like some type of a delivery. That seems to work well for this assignment. So if you pick like a pizza delivery guy, or you pick an Amazon delivery truck, right? You can do something like that. Now, as you're working on this, some of it might get a little abstract and you might have to stretch a little bit. So like what would be encoding for a pizza delivery guy? Well, encoding is deciding how you're going to send the message. It's putting your message, right? It's getting your thought into a message. So maybe they would have to look at the online order, right? Or depending on who your sender is, maybe they would look at the online menu and they would decide. So you can do stuff like that. You can make thought bubbles. What I want you to make sure that you're doing is clearly labeling things. You could even highlight if you want to. That way I can see that you've included all the pieces. I do have a pretty example here from a student in the past, and she picked to do a classroom. And I saved this because it was super well done, like all colored and neat looking, right? And you can see like her example was like an example of verbal communication is writing on the whiteboard. And she's got it all colored in. I do think that you should use some kind of color by doing this assignment and using color and using metaphors. You're using a different part of your brain, and that helps you interact and store this information in a different way. So definitely use color somewhere in your picture, and you can decide how you want to create your picture. You can do a plain old piece of paper, right? Any kind of piece of paper, and draw on it and take a picture. Or you can use Notability and you can trace and draw and highlight and color in Notability. So you've got a choice of where you want to make it. Just make sure you're referencing this chart to make sure you don't have to include all 45 things, but you should include this small abbreviated list. And when you're done, submit it to this assignment. All right, if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, happy communication model drawing. Bye.